I'm sitting down in my office because I have a fun guest that is going to be featured in this video today. Come along. Hey friends, Liz here, your 50/50 gal, and I am so excited for today's video because I am bringing somebody on that I absolutely love and adore and has helped me in my weight loss journey. All right, friends, I told you I was bringing on an amazing guest, and here she is. This is Emily. You
Hi,
probably
everyone.
already have seen her and know her, but we are going to chat today because her and I are friends in the Starch Solution community, and she completely changed my life with my Breaking My Plateau series. And so I'm like, we just need to have a conversation. And one of those reasons is she's amazing and more people need to know about her. So, hi, Emily.
Hi, Liz. I'm so excited. I feel like, yeah, we've been on this journey together. We just relate so much to each other. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I just wish we lived closer so we could just go out to eat with each other, go on walks.
Yes,
Like my
I
soul
know.
sister.
I know, and that's how I feel. And when I talk to my girlfriends about you, they're like, "You seem like really close with her," and I'm like, "Well, I feel close. I mean, you and I like communicate here and there, but I'm like, I actually feel like closer to you than like you probably even know."
Yeah. No, I know. And you were my client too. And it's like we just talk all day, every day. So
I
I'm like,
know
I just get to know people on a different level
you
than just like,
do.
oh, like social media or whatnot. And so I've just loved being on this journey with you. And we've both gone through so many changes, even in the last like few years.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm excited to be here
Yeah,
with you.
and I think that's the amazing thing about you is that you have this personality where people like gravitate towards you and like start to get to really know you because of your programs that you have. So I am so thankful that I like found you. But the reason I wanted to come on and chat today specifically is because it was one of the reasons I wanted to work with you. And it was this concept coming from like being, eating standard American diet to like going vegan, then like plant based, and then starch solutions. So I kind of like went through this whole journey. And as I was starting to like document my process, I was like creating recipes and I was doing all these things in the kitchen. I was kind of eating the wrong whole foods and I just didn't have a rhythm. And I always looked up to like a few of the women in starch solution that really showed that you can just eat simple and you don't have to overcomplicate it. And I know that a lot of people that watch like my YouTube and I talk to, everybody's trying to like achieve that and get to that. And so many people actually don't because they just don't have the willpower. They maybe aren't hiring a coach. They're not getting into a program. They're trying. And so the overall arching thing is I looked up to you and a few others in the industry and was like, whoa, like what a cool concept to just eat vegetables and starches and feel good, get over like that the craving, right? And you and I talked about that specifically because I think when you and I talked, you were like, it was either I was 75 days or you were 90 days. And it was like at the beginning of this like constant, consistency, eating the starch and the vegetable and like being really on track. But there's so many people that can't get to that place where they actually overcome it. And I tell people like in my Breaking My Plateau, like week 3, 4, and 5 and 6, I was like resenting like my husband because he was eating like still like just food that I felt like I couldn't eat, right? But then I got over this hunch and was like, I don't need that food. And so I just kind of want to talk to you about that because I think it's really fascinating to be able to get to that place. And that's why, that was one of the main reasons I hired you as a coach is because you had like basic fundamentals of like what food was.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I went from standard American diet to the starch solution was like I didn't ever do like the vegan junk food or anything like that. Like not thankfully, but like I'm glad because I never really had that idea of being vegan. I've never been a meat eater anyway, so like Beyond Burgers, things like that. Like I've just never actually liked meat. So that never appealed to me. So all I really knew about going vegan was the starch solution. So I, went 90 days into that and just from the standard American diet, and literally those 90 days changed my entire life. And like I've been on this journey for 8.5 years. And in the beginning, like the starch solution is not just like a black and white, you can eat a whole food plant-based diet, and if weight loss is your goal, like you still have to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight, and you can be out of a calorie deficit even while eating the starch solution. Like it's maybe hard to understand, but it's like it's not just like eating the right foods, you have to also switch those portions and ratios of like starch in the veg to be in a calorie deficit. So, that's taken me a long time to like understand that concept that just by eating healthy foods, that's not enough for weight loss. And in the beginning of my journey, I just kind of went from standard American diet to starch solution, not the maximum weight loss program. So I was eating lots of like pasta and breads and bagels, but I got amazing results with those 90 days because I was coming off a standard American diet. So my body was like, oh my God. But then after that, it was kind of like, okay, we need to like ramp this up a little bit more. Like I had lost 17 pounds during that 90 days. And then it was like, okay, wasn't really losing anymore. So I'm like, okay, I need to like ramp this up even more of the maximum weight loss style where it's just back to basics and it's all whole food. And so, minimizing the processed products and all of that. That was my main focus. And that is really when I started to like dive into like the actual more so than just the health. I was like, I feel really great. Like I know this is how I want to eat, but I still have some body goals. I still want to lose, that vanity weight and whatnot. And I was like, okay, I need to just eat super simple for a while. It was kind of like I did my another like I like to take things in like 3 months, like 90-day stints. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do like 90 days of just completely whole food, plant-based, low calorie, and just eat like starch and veggies. And that's when like the weight started like happening again. And another big thing about that is I was, if you remember, a plant-based chef in San Diego, and it was all based under the starch solution. So all whole food, oil-free, the whole shebang, which is crazy because I'm like, that life was so wild, and I'm so never going to go back into that life and like cooking. Oh my God, I can't. But yeah, but I'm like, I was doing a ton of recipes, all super healthy food, but like it was kind of keeping me stuck with my weight loss goals because it was healthy, but it was too calorie dense, especially with like nuts and seeds and avocados and things like that. I was just eating too much of that food, and it was so extravagant that I was like constantly overeating because it's like when food is super exciting, it's like you can't get enough of it. It's like every bite is so exciting. And not that you shouldn't be excited for your food, but I tend to see when my food is like super diverse and like extravagant, I tend to eat more than if it's like simple and similar. I feel like I honor my whole hunger and fullness cues when it's just more simple. So yeah, once I transitioned into just like eating super simply for, 90 days is when I like ramped up again on my weight loss goals and like out of the plateau stage and like really honed in on like my starch versus my veg portion. And yeah, I realized like how you eat is not always how you're going to eat. So sometimes what people do is like where they fall off the wagon is and they don't give it enough time is like they think, "Oh my God, do I have to eat this simply forever?" And then it's like they do it for a couple weeks and they're like, feeling like they're white knuckling it and they don't get over that hump of like we're talking about like you do change your taste buds, like, but most people don't give it a chance to do that. Like, they're still nibbling on, chips or candy or cookies and things like that, which I'm like, I don't like to like tell people they can never have that, but if they're in the stage of trying to rewire their taste buds and they habitually keep nibbling on the chips, of course they're going to crave the chips. Like it's your taste buds haven't forgotten that. And then it's just going to, your brain's going to keep remembering that. Whereas like, I can't even tell you, like, I don't ever have cravings anymore. Like, and I'm not a freak of nature. I'm not some superhuman. I just like, because I don't eat that stuff, like, I don't crave it. And it's not a temptation for me anymore, but that wasn't always how it was. Like it took time to get this way, but I was patient and I did it. But most people just don't have uh they don't have the patience to overcome that and they just want it to happen now, and I'm like, it does happen, but you know, you can't expect it to happen if you're still introducing those foods. But your taste buds, as you know, they do change, but people just don't want to give it the chance.
Well, and I think it's the taste buds change, but then you also get some like repetition of how to build your meals. And I keep telling people like just it's kind of a two-way street, right? Like if you give yourself 75, 90 days to just eat consistently, not the same thing, but your starch and your vegetable, your taste buds are going to change, but you're also then going to get to a point you don't even want to be in the kitchen. Because that's like when you were like when I first hired you, you're like, I hate to cook. And I was like, oh, I kind of enjoy it. And then now I'm like thinking about having to create like an actual meal. I'm like, how do I start?
Yeah, no, and I like run away from the kitchen, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy my food. I literally look for every meal. I'm like, oh my God, that was so good. But my secret is in the sauce. And you know this because I'm like, I came out with an exclusive sauce book because sauce is life for me. This is how I can make vegetables and starch taste so good and diversify it. Like you can essentially eat the same food, like a rice bean veggie dish, and you can do with like an Asian style, like teriyaki or something, or you could do rice, beans, and veg with like a plant-based queso, and it's like an Asian style dish versus a Mexican style dish, and it's basically the same foods, completely different flavor, and it's so good. Like there is no lack of me enjoying my food. Like every meal I eat, I'm like, that was so good. And it's just funny because I do eat very similarly, but it's all about the flavor and the sauces and the seasoning because I'm like, that's how food is good anyways. Like if you're like, I always joke because I'm like, no one likes boiled chicken. Like they only like it because, they put seasonings on it. They put sauce on it. Like they don't like it plain. They like it for the sauce and the flavor. And it's like you do that with a potato or veggies, like same.
Same thing. And that's where like I started, I was, yeah, I love your sauce book. And now I almost am now to a point, like I love sauces too, but like I also love the flavor of Whole Foods.
Mhm.
Like just a potato, like when you get your taste buds to calm down and not
Yeah.
need like all this extra stuff that's in our food, like you enjoy real whole foods. Like
Yeah.
I tell people like steamed cabbage for me is like
Yeah.
it tastes like a
You're
creamy, crunchy
doing
butter
zucchini.
and steamed zucchini. So
Yeah.
like it's just these I don't know. I just love the actual flavor. Like I roast a whole thing of like just cauliflower and I don't
Mm,
even put any salt and pepper on it.
yeah.
But the roasting of the vegetable, it
Yeah.
just brings out so much. And then maybe I'll toss
Yeah.
it with some, salt, some sauce or something like that. But that's why I
I'm
just think
the,
it's
I'm the same way. Like to be honest, like I can eat food without sauces and thoroughly, genuinely enjoy it. I don't expect my clients to be at that point right away. I'm like, there is a transition period and like I still want my clients to enjoy their food. So if they're coming off of eating standard American diet or, vegan junk food or whatnot, like I'm not gonna rip the band-aid and be like, okay, here, no sauces, this and that. I'm like, oh no. Like I definitely want to like transition. But like for me, I've been eating this way for so long that like when I go to a friend's house or something and they're like, "Oh, what do I cook you?" I'm like, "I will be so happy if you just steam some broccoli and a potato for me." And they're like, "What about sauce?" I'm like, "No, seriously." Like I'm like you, like it's I again, we are not like freaks of nature. It's just like we have changed our taste buds so much where we totally just enjoy the food as is. And I think that's hard for people to understand because I'm like, but again, people just haven't given themselves a chance to do so. So it seems really far-fetched for them to like think, oh, they can just enjoy steamed vegetables. But I'm like, listen, it's a real thing when you change the taste buds, like what you habitually eat, you habitually crave. It's pretty crazy because like you asked me this 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and I would be like, no, like I'm gonna need, need something.
Well, and I think that's the unique thing is there's so many people trying to start their journey and really get over this hump of the cravings, and it takes a while. Like
It does.
and that means like you have to cut out everything. It's not like every Saturday night you can go out and have this like decadent meal because then it like you get those taste buds back, you know? And so it can be really challenging, but there's something, and I've recently been talking about like food freedom, like
Mhm.
just knowing like the foods that you eat, like Dr. McDougall was like, these are the foods you eat. These are my foods, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's mentality, you don't start craving these other things because they're just not my food anymore. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's getting over this like
I know when,
of just
yeah.
the American society of what we crave. Like there's people that crave chocolate so much, and I'm like,
Yeah.
chocolate almost makes me like
Yeah.
I just chocolate, ew. Like I'd
Yeah.
rather have something like salty or something, but I mean that's just me. But I want people to feel inspired that you can get to this
Yeah.
point. But like
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to bring you on is because I do think it's so important that people know like it takes some serious dedication in time
Yes.
to get to this place.
Yeah. Most people, yeah, I mean, people expect immediate fast results and, not to be the bearer of bad news, but like it takes work, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes consistency and dedication. And consistency and dedication is what most people are not willing to do. This didn't happen for me overnight. This didn't happen for you overnight. Like most people have been eating a certain way their entire life. So to think something's going to magically change in 2 weeks is not realistic. I'm sorry, it's not, but like, that's why I like 90 days. Like 90 days was, I don't know, it was what changed my entire life. And it just really gives you enough time to like see results, like not have the cravings. And for a while you are going to have cravings. That is just like what's going to happen. But if you keep giving into those urges and cravings, you're just going to keep craving it. So it's like, it's like this hamster wheel you can't get off of. But every time you like go through an urge and you like sit with it, or I always say, like, eat fruit. Like, yes, I want to honor our hunger and fullness cues, but if you're trying to decide to eat potato chips or fruit, like have the fruit, because if you habitually eat the fruit, that's what you're going to crave. And yeah, and it just starts to get you over that, like giving into the urges, because every urge you sit with, you're going to become that much stronger on not giving in. And ultimately, like that is the goal. This long term, this doesn't need to be 100%. Like I do not preach that. I am not 100%. Like, yes, I don't eat animal products, but like, sure, some like fun foods maybe have some oil in it or whatever, like those will come in here, there. But that wasn't in the beginning for me. I couldn't do that in the beginning because I would keep craving them. But there comes a point you get over that, and now I can have a little here and there, but it's nothing for me. It's just like, oh, cool, I had that. That was good. Moving on. But it's not like that in the beginning, and it takes a little willpower, dedication, and consistency. But that's what people don't realize. Like you have to do that work. There's no skipping over that.
And I think that's also like food freedom to me now means like every meal I make at home is super healthy. And I maybe only eat out like every a few times a month. And like
Same.
you said, I have a little bit of oil in it. But my body can adjust because I'm naturally just eating whole foods that are fueling me. And I'm not craving stuff. Like I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need to have like something, because I don't even think about it anymore. And almost like going out to eat almost is like trips me up a little bit because I'm
Yeah.
like, need all my like I need my starch, I need my veg,
Yeah.
and it's okay, Liz.
Yeah.
You might not be
Well,
able to eat much
I
veg,
always
but you'll be okay.
yeah, I always laugh because it is so foreign to me to crave something where my fiance is like, "Oh, I'm just really craving like XYZ, you know, and I'm like, I laugh and I tell him this all the time. I'm like, I don't even know what that's like to be like, oh my God, I'm just really craving this. Like I don't have that anymore. And I just think it's funny because constantly him every day. I'm like, okay, what are you craving? He's like, oh, I'm really craving this. And it just makes me laugh because it's like, that is not wired in me anymore. It used to be. But I'm like, like a craving for like pizza or this and that. Like, sure, that sounds good, but I'm not like, oh my God, I have to have it, that kind of thing. And I just think it's funny because we can rewire our brain, like our taste buds, yes, but also our brain. And I'm actually going through like a behavioral emotional program right now too, all about like rewiring the brain and how powerful the mindset is. And it's just like your mind is so powerful and it can like you can overcome like so much. I mean, it takes work. Your habits you've done for so long, like think about that. Some people have been doing some habits for 30 years and it's like, and they're just like expect in 2 weeks to like, be cured or whatever. And you won't, but the good news is you can rewire the brain. It just takes, a little bit of effort.
Well, and I think too, like I did 3 months with you. I ended up doing 4, right? But at 3 months, I was over the curve. I was fine,
Yeah.
right? And I extended one more month just to like make sure I had like the support I needed and things like that. You hardly heard from me. But it got to a place where I just like started building that repetition. And that was the mile marker of it. And then meals just got way more simple because I started like knowing what to prep, knowing what to eat, sending it to you. And I have to say, like what you just said is like about the mind. There's something so empowering when you can overcome a large obstacle that you've been facing for a while. And for many people listening today, it's going to be your weight and
Yeah.
needing to lose the weight and be healthy again. And
Mhm.
so there's something so empowering when you take it like one meal at a time and just like
Yeah.
repetition, repetition. And then every week that goes by, you get stronger and
Mhm.
you evolve as a person and your mindset is even like stronger and your
Yeah.
willpower and like you get this momentum, but you have to put yourself in the place to even like get to that place to start that momentum.
Yeah.
You
And
have to start.
you were like, my straight A student. And but I saw you like, like in those 4 months we worked together, it was crazy. And it was never white knuckling for you. You did this very sustainably and you enjoyed the food. You were always full and satisfied. Like that's something as a coach I always ask my clients. I'm like, are you enjoying your meals? And even sometimes for you, your meals started to become so simple. And I'm sure you remember, but I was still like, you enjoyed this, right? And you're like, no, seriously, like I do. And I'm like, great. I mean, you're very similar to me where I can eat this simply. Most of my clients like they can't at first. I even remember, a lot of people who watch your YouTube, they have hired me since, so thank you. But they are even just like, I don't know if I can eat as simple as Liz, and I'm like, you can and you will enjoy it, but maybe not at first, but it can get that way if you want it to, like you can. And but yeah, I think everyone's just kind of wondering like, could I eat that simply too? And it's like, absolutely. And you can enjoy it. You just have to give yourself the chance. You have to get over that hurdle. But again, most people just are like week 3. I kind of remember now that I'm thinking about it. I feel like week 3, it really wasn't until like almost like 10 weeks. I feel like for you, it was like 10 weeks where you're like really like the changes, like all of a sudden, I feel like they were happening. But then at 10 weeks, we were like, whoa, like things just like fell into place. And again, and that was so you had already been eating the starch solution. Um, you
Well,
know?
and I say I gave myself the best gift hiring you, and I say that to this day because I originally already had lost like more than 30 pounds,
Yeah.
for the last 3 years, and I was able to keep it off, but I wasn't able to get the additional pounds off. And so, yes, I got the additional pounds off, but I also learned how to eat.
Yeah.
And I think that that was the most beautiful thing. Yes, I wanted to lose weight. Yes, I wanted to break my plateau, but like it set me up for success around Starch Solution and how to live this life in a very simplistic way,
Yeah.
enjoy real foods, because now I'm looking at like our whole American society, and like you wonder why people are overweight. It's because of what's in our processed foods and how
Yeah.
people cannot break this habit of eating unhealthy processed foods. And
Yeah.
so, I'm looking at this like, it's a big topic, in conversation for people now of like, why are we getting heart disease? Why are we getting all these things?
Yeah.
Because all this extra food that we're eating and consuming, even vegan food, y'all. And so it goes back to like eating simple foods, leaving out these oils, and
Mhm.
really finding simplicity in your
Yeah.
meals and just fueling your body and just with fuel. Have
Yeah.
food be fuel and not pleasure. And that's where, I always see all these people creating all these recipes and all these, people on Instagram want to make them too. But like when you start adding so many recipes, and you and I have talked about this before,
Yeah.
it adds so many calories and
That and like
the
kitchen
sensation.
fatigue. Yeah.
Yes. And then yes, you can add like cocoa powder to stuff, but then you're gonna start craving that. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and yes, it's a health food, and it's and you can eat it and you can be fine. But there's something about just like simplicity of
Yeah.
whole foods, simple foods. And that's like the one biggest takeaway that I learned from you is like you
Yeah.
can just eat simple foods. And I never thought in a million years I could be that person.
Yeah.
Now sitting here today, I'm like a clone of you, I'm like, whoa, I was able to accomplish that. Like,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
I think it's Dr. McDougall. He always said like every meal shouldn't be Thanksgiving. Like you shouldn't have, like every meal shouldn't be some like extravagant recipe. Like that is like I said, when food is more extravagant, you're just gonna habitually overeat on it because it's just more exciting. But I feel don't you feel like people who maybe are trying out to be vegan or plant-based, like they feel like they need to have a new recipe for every single meal? Like I feel like they like get into a scarcity mindset where they're like, "Oh my God, I need to have 21 recipes for, the whole week, this and that." And I'm like, one, that's not sustainable. Two, like do you even do that now? Like like how's that working for you? And like for me, I'm just like, I did it as a career, like making all these recipes and extravagant food. I did that for money, but when it came to myself, because everyone like towards the end of my chef business, everyone was like, "Oh my God, you must like eat all these meals." And I'm like, "Oh no, like I make these for my clients, but when it comes to me, I like hit 5 minutes on the microwave to steam my veggies." Like it's this
there's
works
almost
so
a
well for me.
scarce, there's almost a scarcity around like be eating simple and not having this like extra things to make almost,
Yeah,
right? And then it just influences people to think that they have to like have all these innovative things. And it's like, no, just get your starch, your veg, and a sauce. And
yeah,
like that's your meal. You don't
yeah,
have to go and be crazy in the kitchen
yeah,
and have all these extra things, because like that's one thing that I used to think I was like a recipe creator and I was making like here and there and doing
yeah,
this, and I'm gonna give you the next best recipe. And it's
yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
that was mixed messaging that I was giving out,
yeah.
thinking, yes, you can, I lost 30 pounds doing that,
Mhm.
but there's this like whole food plant-based, but then like being super simple with your food.
Yeah, and
and
it's like, and
I
again,
don't know what we call that.
yeah, and it's like there's health food, whole food, plant-based, health food, but most people think health equals weight loss, and it's like, no, like if weight loss is your goal and health, like the one thing about like eating a whole food, plant-based diet is you can get health and weight loss all at the same time, or you can get both. But health food is just not enough on its own if weight loss is your goal. Like you still have to be in a calorie deficit. You still have to eat the foods in order for your body to lose weight. And I think, but yeah, like all these recipes and whatnot, like you're adding so many in, or like a lot of like blended things or baked goods. Like, yeah, they're baked with like bananas and applesauce and things like that. But when you actually eat food, like an apple in its whole form, like you're going to be way more satiated with food in its whole form. Than like these recipes that combine like so many ingredients. And those are great to have every now and again, but not for every meal. I just like, there's one thing about chewing. I always tell my clients, like, try to chew your food over drink your calories or like make it into like, a pudding or something like that. Because I'm like, there is power in chewing your food. Trust me, it's a game changer.
I'm laughing because I remember there was like one night I was just sitting on the sofa and I had made like a homemade applesauce or something and I canned it and I showed you I was eating it. And you said, is that gonna like satisfy you? And I said, yeah, for now, but it wasn't necessarily like gonna fill me up like an apple, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always had that like kind of conversation in how I've incorporated food, right? Like, is that gonna fill me up?
Mhm.
Applesauce compared to an apple, right? Like
Yeah.
you almost have to look at like the calorie density aspect, of it
Yeah.
in a sense, but like the chewing form of it.
Yeah.
And so one more thing that I want to talk about is like just fat intake, because that's one thing I learned from you too.
Yeah.
Is when I was like making recipes, I was adding in things and like it ended up being more fat. And
Mhm.
now I don't even crave a lot of fat. And I get a lot of comments where people are like, you need to be eating like avocado, you need to be this and
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I feel like if I literally eat an avocado, I gain like 5 pounds. I just think my body responds to fat,
Yeah.
pretty significantly. And that's another thing during this process is I don't eat a lot of fat
Hmm.
because I just my body doesn't feel as vibrant with it. But
Yeah.
I just kind of talk to me a little bit about that because I know that was a
Yeah.
huge thing with my weight loss is like if we're gonna use cashews, maybe use like a tablespoon of it just to get like a
Right.
creamy sensation. And so I
Right.
learned that from you as well.
Yeah. So one thing I want to preface, and I know this saying is out there, like the fat you eat is the fat you wear. I cringe so much at that saying because like just because something has fat in it doesn't automatically mean like, oh, weight loss. But what is happening is things that are more high in fat, aka nuts, seeds, nut butter, avocado, wh- whatever is higher in fat automatically means it's higher in calories. So that in its sense, when we talk about weight loss, calories are king. Over fat grams, calories are king when it comes to weight loss. So, but the thing is, people are just eating higher calorie dense foods, aka more calories. So it's not that fat makes you fat. It's just like excess calories add or gain weight. And one easy thing to do is like to minimize the fat intake because that's going to shed the calories off. So a lot of times what I see with people that come into working with me and they're already plant-based, Starch Solution is immediately they're doing like way too much like heavy cashew based sauces or lots of avocado, nut butters, things like that. And I'm like, that stuff is all great in moderation for weight loss, but some people have a really hard time moderating, aka me. I am not a moderator. And so for me, when I was like, okay, I want to get these vanity pounds off, I'm not a moderator in like anything I do in life. So I'm like, it's easier for me to just omit something than try to moderate it.
Me
So
too.
that's sometimes I do have those unicorn clients that are like can moderate right away and I'm like, "Oh, bless your soul." Like I've never been that way. But I a lot of times people are just like, "Let's just omit it right now because I don't trust myself to moderate peanut butter or whatever." So a lot of times that's what's happening with my clients that are already plant-based when they come to work with me. I'm like, "Okay, your fat content, aka calorie content, is too high right now. And so how do you feel about doing like a serving size, 1 to 3 serving size of fat, per day?" And some people are like, "Oh, like I don't know if I can do that. Like I think I'm still gonna crave it." Then I'm like, okay, let's just nix that for now. And the other thing is like rewiring the taste buds. If we're habitually putting like cashew based sauces in, of course we're going to want that richness. But it is wild, like when you transition from like doing only cashew based sauces to like bean or tofu based sauces. Yes, at first it's a little bit of a difference. You will notice that creaminess that cashews give you that those don't, but the more you eat it, like you won't even notice the difference. But it takes, I always say like 14 days for your taste buds to rewire. Um So anyways, that is the biggest thing is like with fat, like things that are overt fats, is they just have more calories and they're yummy. So people have a really hard time moderating them. And that is a big thing too. So I come with the stance, I'm like, if you can moderate it, we can do that and you can still have weight loss, but like 1 tablespoon, like you were saying, of cashews versus like a half cup, something like that. But for you, you were like, I can take it or leave it. I'm kind of the same way. Like I don't I feel like some of my clients, especially peri postmenopausal, a little bit of overt fat really helps them get that like satiation. But I feel like, I don't know, people in our age bracket, this is just a general thing I'm noticing. Sometimes we can take it or leave it and feel completely satisfied. So that's why with working with you, I kept making sure you were satisfied without the overt fats, and you were. And I was like, fine, you get enough. Again, like McDougall says, like if you're eating enough calories, you're getting enough fat, like without even adding overt fats to it.
Yeah, and I just knew like going into this with you, I was like, hey, I'm gonna give this my all, and I want to get. One of my goals was to lose weight, but get over the cravings. And
Mhm.
some of those cravings were high fat foods, like the cashews. And so working with you, you would just question me like, hey, how many cashews are you gonna use? How much of this are you gonna use? And like I can't just eat a fourth of an avocado.
Yeah.
Like I like more, And so I just know like kind of those trigger foods that are gonna like put me in a spiral. And so like I don't even remember the last time I ate an avocado because
Yeah.
I don't even want to go there, or else I'll
Yeah.
start incorporating it more and more. And then I'll see a fluctuate in probably my weight because that's
Yeah.
just how my body operates. And so I
Yeah.
know that that's always, people are always like, where's your fats? And it's like, once again, I have a little bit of soy milk, and things like that. So I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah. No, and I'm all for that. Like there's things I've had to omit for periods of time in my life just because they were trigger foods. Like dates and peanut butter have been trigger foods for me. And so it again, it is just easier for me and for a lot of society just to omit something than try and like dabble with moderation. And so that's when I'm like, I love Chef AJ saying like in your house, in the house, in your mouth kind of thing. And it's true. And so for me, I honestly didn't have like peanut butter and dates in my house for like 2 or 3 years. Now it's no big deal. Like I like I have 2 to 3 dates every day. I can have peanut butter, but it wasn't like that for me because I had to get over the cravings, the urges. And by doing so, I just had to omit it for a while. It's not forever. It's just like why I always say like why dangle like a candy bar in front of a toddler? It's like why do that why make this process harder than it already is with moderation? Yeah, for me and a lot of my clients, it's just easier to omit. But
Yeah,
yeah.
there
And
was
for you, it was same.
yeah, and there was a time like I saw like when I was working with you, you had like peanut butter and a date, and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get to that point where
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I can enjoy that every once in a while. And so, as I'm sitting here today with you, it's like, wow, like just a transformational experience working with you, and just like, I worked with you, you gave me the guidance, but then I had to do the work.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the biggest takeaway, y'all, is like you have to go do the work, right? Like, and I could have done the work, but I needed somebody to almost teach it to me
Yeah.
again, because
Yeah.
I was losing weight. I had lost 30 pounds on my own, but I needed like that extra push. I
Mhm.
needed that accountability. I sent you every single meal,
Did.
I weighed in once a week. Like you were my teacher, and I wanted to make sure that I was like a straight A student, and
Yeah.
I would send you my
Sure.
stat count and everything. But you gotta go do the work.
Yeah. We can know. I just posted a post on this. Like, you don't need another recipe book. You don't need another book to read, a meal plan. You know this information, but the knowing and the doing are two completely different ball games. And, me as a coach, I can lead a horse to water. I can hold your hand virtually through this, but at the end of the day, you have to do the work. And but support is everything. Like we're not meant to go through some things alone, and thankfully we don't have to. Like it's funny because like I was talking to my therapist and she was like, Emily, I have a therapist, like we like even a coach, like coaches have coaches. And like when you wanted to work out with me, or work with me, you were like, you were already in this world too. And then, but it's like, we all need support. So on going through this process with someone, and just like, I don't know anyone in my real life that eats this way. So it's like my Instagram, my clients, those are my community. So thinking of people that don't have that, I'm like, oh, get yourself like a buddy, a coach to go through this. And then just having someone to like double check you're doing everything right. Like no one likes to waste time. Like I'm the biggest, like I'm not going to let anyone go through a week with like doing something that could derail them. So I think just having the reassurance of like, oh, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm doing this, and then doing the tweaks as we go. But yeah, you were an obviously awesome
Because
student to work with.
Because I remember, like, I would weigh in on Saturdays, and then I would always be like, I wonder what's gonna happen. Be like, is she gonna change my routine for the
Yeah.
week? Things like that. And so I looked forward to like every Saturday to weigh in,
Yeah.
but then also had kind of have an opportunity to like check in with you and be like, hey, are we gonna make any adjustments? But
Yeah.
y'all, my weight just kept going down, 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 down. We hardly had to adjust,
I
right?
know.
Like
And it
my
was just
weight,
like the smallest things. And I was like, that's what I use you a lot as an example. I'm like, honestly, with Liz, like she kept things so similar. And like if we were changing something, it was like the most minor thing, but it kicked it up a notch. I mean, you lost weight very consistently. Maybe
yeah.
we go down.
It was pretty amazing. So I just appreciate you. So okay, so let's close because people
Okay.
always
We,
want to
we can
know.
literally talk all day.
I know, but people always want to know what are you eating. So you're gonna name two of your favorite meals right now, and I'll name two of
Okay. Okay. Um, every morning I have my oatmeal. It is my tried and true. I have oatmeal. It has PB2 in it. And a little bit of salt, a little bit of stevia. I use stevia. Some people are not about it. I use it. And then bananas. I have it every day. And I'm like, every day after I eat it, I'm like, this is dessert. So I have that. And then my lunch right now that I've had for months is my tofu queso that I posted on my feed. Obsessed with that. And I make it like a Mexican bowl. So I have rice, beans, corn in there, tomatoes, hearts of palm, lots of lettuce, and then put the queso over. So I've been having that for like 5 months for lunch every day. And I love it.
Yeah, I love that. And so my top two are I love hash browns. So I have hash browns with just a little bit of ketchup on it. And then I always make a salad. And I love just a nice like summer salad. And then my other one is I use the queso dip.
Mhm.
So I roast cauliflower, put the queso dip on it,
Yeah.
put some rice, and mix that up. And that's
Yeah.
literally what I have. And I'll sometimes add like some tofu in it. So I mix
Yeah.
it more tofu a little bit.
Yeah.
That's like a full balanced meal, and I absolutely love it. And
Me
like
too.
once
I
again,
like,
that's just like whole foods. Like we didn't overcomplicate it. Like you could literally just like those four things that we just listed literally
yeah.
probably take people 3 to 5 minutes to literally cook, eat, feel full and satisfied.
Yep. It's like my meals, I throw together like, 3 to 5 minutes it takes. And basically it's just like, because it takes like a few minutes to microwave to steam the veggies. And so, yeah, no, I love it. Every day I look forward to my food. I'm like, who wouldn't want to eat this way?
But I also think it's like understanding how to make the food and like
Yeah.
getting foods that you are wanting to crave actually, like that are so healthy that you're like, ooh, I just can't wait. But then
Yeah.
I don't even think about my next meal. Like I go in the kitchen and I'm like, I have some cooked rice or I have some hash browns I'll put in the air fryer. Like I
Yeah.
used to be like a big, big meal planner and I loved that. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, fatigue, no, I don't even
Yeah.
hardly, I mean, my prep is maybe like 30, 45 minutes on the weekend, and that's just like
Yeah.
cleaning my vegetables so everything's like ready in
Yeah.
my starches. But like, I don't even think about what my next meal is anymore until
Same.
like I'm like 30 minutes. I think I'm gonna want to eat in 30 minutes. Go in the
Yeah.
kitchen, pop something in the microwave or heat it up
I
or
know.
something.
I'm like, Nick like thinks about his meal for hours before he eats it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you do you. Because I know me, like, my meal's going to be ready when it's ready. I spend 45 minutes to an hour, like once a week, maybe twice a week, just like prepping my rice or potatoes while I'm cleaning the house. But I'm like, I run a business. I have so many decisions. We're renovating a house. Like I have so many decisions every day to make. The last thing I want fatigue with is like decision making in the kitchen. And so I love this. This is sustainable for most people, and this is what people actually need to be doing in order to make this lifestyle sustainable long term. Is like take out all the crazy noise of like all the recipes and everything. Like that's just going to overwhelm you. Whereas like you and me, we got this simple life down. Not having to have that kitchen fatigue just makes us have more space for being creative with our businesses. And yeah,
Yeah,
whatnot.
100%. So if you guys enjoyed this video, check out my Breaking My Plateau. Emily makes appearances in that 16 full weeks of just showing you like my food. And then Emily, where can they find you at?
My Instagram, Plant Burst, is where most people find me, but also plantburst.com is my website. You can make a free consultation on there to talk about, your goals. I can tell you about my programs. So yeah, those two places you can find me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye Liz. Bye everyone.
Bye. Thanks for tuning into today's video. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos because you just never know who I'm going to interview. And so I am so thankful that Emily from Plant Burst came on today and talked about fun topics all around the Starch Solution and a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Until next time, friends.